Greetings to you all in the name of Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So today, when we see in our Christian life, we face a lot of temptations in every day. So many times we overcome it with prayer, we overcome it with faith. But when we see in our life, when we examine our life, a same temptations, a same sin, a same weakness, it is to repeat in our life. For example, last month we overcome a particular temptation, particular sin, but after 1 month, after few weeks, a same temptation is repeated in our life. So that means whenever a temptation comes in our life, we overcome it, but not we defeat it. But I would like to encourage you all how to defeat a temptation, how to defeat a sinful things completely, permanently in our life. I would like to encourage you all from the story of David and Goliath. So when we see this story, Goliath challenges the Israelites. But when we see this story, we know this story. The army of Israel, they were so afraid by seeing the Goliath, and they were so afraid for 40 days and 40 nights. And after David came, and when we see how the David defeated Goliath, it's so wonderful, and we can learn something from this story. David, he came to the battlefield, and he took out a stone, and also he hit the Goliath. So when we see here, the moment David hit the Goliath, Goliath was fell down. But the story was not over here. The story did not end from here. But when we see in our life, the story ends here. The moment when we overcome a particular temptation, a particular sin, we thought that we won against our enemy, we won against our temptations, we won against our sin. But when we see here, the moment David hit the Goliath, he fell down, but David did not keep quiet that Goliath was dead completely. But David, he ran towards the giant, and also he took out the sword, and he cut the head of the Goliath. So that means he separated his head from his body. So that means he defeated Goliath completely. When we see this story, the 1 Samuel chapter 17, when we see this story, the people of Israel, they were so afraid. They have been quiet for 40 days. Why? Because they were keep on looking at the giant, they were keep on looking at the temptations which is in front of them. So that's why they have been keeping quiet. They have been so silent, they have been afraid. The moment Goliath was fell down, so they did not shout it. The moment Goliath was hit by rock, they did not shout it. So when we read the scriptures, the moment David defeated Goliath, the moment David cut off the head of Goliath, so the moment they shouted, they started praising, they started shouting, they opened their mouths. So that means, even in our life, when we shouted, when we are going to shout, when we are going to praise, when we are going to be happy, when we defeated our giants completely in our life. So many times we defeated our temptations, we defeated our sinful things, we defeated our weakness just for a moment. But the same temptations keep on repeating in our life. That means we are keep on facing a same Goliath every time. So when we see here, the moment David defeated Goliath, we don't see about Goliath after 1 Samuel chapter 17. So after chapter 18 or 19 or wherever, after chapter 17, we did not find anything about the Goliath. So that means the Goliath chapter the story was finished from there. Why? Because David not only overcome Goliath, he was defeated Goliath. See, even in our life, we need to defeat our enemies, we need to defeat our sin. How we can defeat our enemies, how we can defeat our sinful things, our temptations. When we see David, the moment he was entering into the battle, the first thing he said, the battle belongs to the Lord. So that means he did not depend upon his own strength, he did not depend upon himself, but he was depending upon God who can strengthen him. Even in our life, when we are facing temptations, when we are facing problems, when we are facing sinful things, it is not our strength, it is not our strength or something else. It is, we need to depend upon God who can strengthen us. That's how David was able to defeat Goliath. In our lives, how to defeat our temptations, our weakness, our sinful things permanently. So when we see our life, many times we overcome it, but we did not defeat them completely. So when we see a David life, from the beginning, he was depending upon God. When he was about to face Goliath, he did not depend upon his own strength, he depended upon God. So even in our life, if we depend upon our strength, we fail to overcome. And we see there are a lot of giants we are facing every day. There are a lot of giants we are going to overcome it. And the thing is, if we depend upon our own strength, we definitely fail. But if we depend upon God, if we depend upon God's strength, if we depend upon God who can strengthen us, definitely we can defeat our Goliaths in our life. So I would like to encourage you all. There are a lot of Goliaths in our life. That means there are a lot of temptations in our life. There are a lot of sinful things in our life. There are a lot of weakness in our life. If you want to defeat them completely, so I would like to encourage you all, from today onwards, depend upon God who can strengthen you, because the battle is not ours, the battle is Lord's. May God bless you all.